Hello to everybody. So last time I talked about how I manage stress, how I cope with negative things which I don't like in my life. This was a very good tip for me. And today I will talk about depression as I promised. So I have a long history of depression. I had major depressions at the ages 8, 15, 18, 23 and 25. Each depression lasted several months. It was very severe. When I was 18, 20 and 23 and 25, I took antidepressant medications because I just couldn't cope with it. My grandma even had to send them to me to Korea because I was so totally desperate. And my depression was endogenic. It means that it was not caused by any outer circumstances. Like life was okay, everything is okay, but from inside you feel so horrible and you don't even know why. That's endogenic depression. And I also call it existential depression because it was often caused, I would say always caused by existential thoughts like about death, about meaning of life, meaningless of life, about how everything is cruel and unfair in the world. When I went vegan, I finally was in a stage when I put up with my own death and with human death, but a new realm of things opened to me, that animals' death, who die unnecessarily in such huge numbers just for nothing, and it was a new level of depression as well. And I used different things to cope with depression apart from antidepressants, like distraction. So I watched a lot of films, TV series, long TV series, and I watched them a lot just to forget about the real world and just concentrate on somebody else's virtual fake life. Also, I used other people to cope with depression. I had my boyfriend to talk to me for hours for me to feel better. But none of this worked in long term. Again, depression came back. So what I found out, what is the best way to cope with depression? So first I when my last depression started, I decided I didn't want any medication, any sort of anything. And I was really determined to deal with it by myself. So I was feeling very, very bad in my heart. It was all aching inside my soul, but I was just holding myself. I didn't want to distract myself with TV. I knew it would lead to nothing. You shouldn't distract, because when you distract yourself, you just push it further inside, and the issues are not resolved that way. So I was just reading a lot of books about depression. So I just opened one book after another, one side after another, and I was reading them whole day, every day. That was all that I did. And of course some pleasant things too, which are pleasant to raise my mood. But the main activity was researching about depression. And reading that, I found a lot of advice how to cope with it, cope with the uncertainty in the world, cope with unfairness, injustice in the world, and how to accept it and how to deal with it. So yeah, first thing, there is a real need to look into the face of your depression, into the face of your fears, and stop distracting from them. Just examine them, just dwell in them, just lie and feel that pain and try to examine why is causing that, where did it originate. So of course in this thing psychotherapy can help, but I didn't want to spend any money. I didn't have much money. I wanted to do it on my own, and also my husband helped me in that. He just was cheering me up in the way that you can cope with it, you can do it, you can fight it, just don't give up, don't you can cry a little bit, but then again stand up and fight with your inner devil, fight with your inner issues. And I think this consistency and this fighting and this desire to cope on my own without any outer help, these were determinants to end my depressions for all. So it ended more than 2 years ago, and I never had such major strikes of depression after that. Of course I have bad mood, sometimes very bad mood for a few days, but it doesn't stand as near close to the level of despair to what I used to experience. So coping with depression is a skill which we have to develop, and we need to grow mentally, to grow over our negative issues, and then we have the skill to cope with any further negativity in the future. So I believe that depression is a great thing to teach us to grow mentally, spiritually, to have a better to have a better confidence in ourselves, better values, better stem of our identities. So, of course, when depression is so severe that the only thing you want is die and nothing else, you don't believe that it will become better. It's very, very deep depression, which I was in, but still the time I believe that there is an exit, because I always know when there is a bad thing in my heart, there will be definitely time when I feel good again. I knew that it will come, so I never thought of suicide or all this, but I could understand people who thought of suicides because it was so painful. So if the level of depression is so deep, then of course professional help is the only thing that needed, and maybe some mild antidepressants to cope with initial with the deepest level of depression. But after getting to more acceptable levels of depression, when you don't just want to kill yourself, then it's the time to work on your character, work on your perception of life, perception of people, perception of yourself. That's a hell lot of work, a hell lot of reading, hell lot of thinking. Just don't hide from it. When you don't hide, you open to it and you resolve it. So you can put your thoughts on depression, how to cope with it, how to cope with negativity's life, because our life can be so crappy. Even if it's good from other people's perspective, we can perceive it as crappy. So dealing with crappiness, dealing with bad things is the essential skill which I want to teach my kid. That's the most important thing in life. So I hope you learn it, hope you will be happy always and certain and confident in yourself. Thank you for watching. See you next videos. Goodbye.